Good afternoon, my friends. Good afternoon, breeders, technicians from Brazil and from all over the world who are here with us attending another Brazilian Cattle Live. And today is a very special day. We're receiving here the board of ASBIA, the Brazilian Association of Artificial Insemination. They are going to share a lot of important information with us on export semen sales in the first quarter of 2021. So, for our safety and to comply with the health legislation, all of us here are using our health bracelet. We have been tested. That's why we're not wearing our masks here. And we are going to keep social distancing because we need to convey important information to you here in Brazil and all over the world. Now, to invite the ASBIA board, I'd like to invite our Director of International Affairs, Ana Cláudia Mendes Souza, and our President, Rivaldo Machado Jr. And together they are going to invite ASBIA's board and welcome them to the event. Welcome to this event, President Márcio Neri, Director Luiz Adriano, Executive Adriano. Welcome to our house, the house of Zebu Cattle. Good afternoon. Now I'm going to yield the floor to our International Affairs Director to welcome ASBIA's board, ASBIA, who is our great partner. Welcome here. It's a great pleasure to welcome here at our house, at our home, our international studio, and it's great to be able to share with us, to be sharing here um, the results and all the novelties that you're going to share with us this afternoon. President Rivaldo, welcome here. Good afternoon to all of you who are with us today, to agro business people, and to the world in general, because we are now connected to everyone on earth. This is this time I come back to this studio, and I wish you from SBA a great stay here at ABCZ, the National Brazilian Zebu Association. And we want to hear from you today, all the news about your association and the great work that you've been conducting, carrying out in Brazil in terms of artificial insemination, AI studies, and cattle breeders see the importance of this. That's the only way we're going to have genetic progress, and we're going to be able to increase our beef and dairy production. So welcome to ABCC. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Mr. President. So have a seat, make yourselves at home. And now I yield the floor to you. Keep up the good work. We are proud of being your partners. We are carrying out the great work together, joint work, and the idea is to always open new markets and expand the Brazilian genetics to the world. Great job. And I wish you all the best, all success. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. And without further delay, I'm going to yield the floor to our president, Marcos Ney, who is going to briefly present to us our program of this afternoon. He's going to let us know who are our guests this afternoon and what are the topics that we're going to discuss here this afternoon. Thank you, Chris. I must say, on behalf of our president, say thank you to ABCZ. And on behalf of Brazilian Cattle Genetics, I'd like to thank Director Anna for the opportunity. They were so kind to give us this opportunity of sharing some information, valuable information to our dairy and beef market in Brazil. And also thinking about the export market. We have some great figures to share with you, and we have some great guests to talk about it this afternoon. A lot of important people here. So, representing CPEA, Giovanni Penas, who will talk about the index, the ASBIA index importance. Then Carlos Eduardo known as Paulista, who's going to talk about the beef market. Marcelo Pereira from AgriPoint is going to talk about the dairy market. Juliano Sabella from representing here DSM Tortuga will talk about the importance of ASBIA index for companies that are not so traditional in the artificial insemination market, but are part of the ASBIA members. And then we have our board. We have Luis Adriano, and remotely, virtually, we have Nelson Zerbos, Thiago Carrara, Gerson Santos from Bella Vista, and Sergio Saudi. They are going to talk about different aspects of this index. This live is going to be moderated by Cristiano Botelho, our executive director, and there's a very important person here, the executive secretary of the Brazilian Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Supply, is honoring us here with his presence today, Mr. Marcos Montes. So I'd like to invite Marcos Montes to have the floor. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation. So, yes, he's with us. Good afternoon, Marcos Montes. How is everything going? Cristiano, I cannot hear you that well. Good afternoon and welcome to our event. And we would like to hear your comments on the artificial insemination market, the importance of AI in both in terms of disseminating genetics as well as to contribute to, in terms of contributing to the to an increasing productivity in Brazil. We're having a small delay. We're having some technical interferences here. So how is the audio now? There's some echo. So let's wait a minute until everything is fixed up. And as we wait, Chris, I must say that Rivaldo m- mentioned that the role of the breeder is very important, and the growing rates that we see in the Brazilian cattle production are based on a tripod. Genetic breeding represents less than 1% of the total cost of a production of the production of 1 kilogram of milk or 1 kilogram of beef. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is that beans are the only permanent supply that you bring inside your property. Everything else is used up, but genetics is permanent. It will influence different generations. And the third pillar is that cattle breeders have understood that genetic breeding do not act upon only the tip of the production chain, more beef and more milk. No, it is also helpful in terms of reducing costs because when we work with resistance to disease, fertility, feed efficiency, we are reducing production costs. And we are now starting to understand a fourth pillar, which is the pillar of sustainability. We talk a lot about sustainability. Our kind of production needs to make sure that they follow those international rules, so to say, of being sustainable. We have to produce more with less, and it's important to say that, Chris, because we need to, because the fact that we have woken up for genetic breeding aspects have allowed us to really grow like we have been growing the past years. Yes, these four pillars undoubtedly are extremely important for an increase in production, an increase in productivity, and artificial insemination is a great way to disseminate that to the entire Brazil. We have more than 4,200 municipalities. Uh, we are represented in more than 4,200 Brazilian municipalities, which amount to 77% of all municipalities in Brazil. Marcos Montes is back with us. Can you hear me? I hear you very. like you're speaking from the distance. Okay, I believe that we are having some technical problems, but I'm going to ignore them. I think it's very important to speak now, considering the importance of this event that you're organizing. The other day we met in person, and I told you that I really wanted to participate because ASBIA today is remarkable, and I'd like to congratulate Marcos and the others because we see in ASBIA everything that we need to have Brazil more and more competitive and to serve the needs of our beef farmers, our dairy farmers, and the growth of Siemens sales has been really impressive. So we really see that we are progressing a lot, and I can see it from two perspectives. Of course, production perspective, along with sustainability, like you told me once, we're producing more with less resources. So sustainability is so desired by the world is what we are aiming at. And one of the things that really motivates me in terms of examination is the social aspect of AI. Small, in the sense of allowing small farmers to have a great genetics in his farm. Small dairy farmers have access to data, the best genetics in the world. ASBIA is a very important association, and not only because of the figures that we usually see, but because of this social work. That's what Semin allows us to have. Genetics becomes ours. It doesn't go away. Once you bring it to your farm, it stays there. So I'd like to congratulate ASBIA, its board, and really give a warm hug and Christian on his so enthusiastic great moment we are living. So congratulations, and be sure that we you will always have the support from the ministry. We really praise associations as ASBIA. So a great event to all of you, and thanks for the invitation. Thank you, Mr. Marcos Montes. It's a great pleasure to have you here with us today. Now I'm going to yield the floor to Luis Adriano, who is our operations director. And since he's much older than me, he's going to tell us the story of ASBIA, how it was founded. I just know it by reading because I didn't live this. Well, right. Well, we've lived it together, right? Anyways, thanks. It's great to be here at Brazilian Cattle, feeling at home. It feels very comfortable to be here today. And drawing from what Dr. Marcos Monte said, well, ASBIA is going to was founded in November of 1974. It is almost 50 years old, and at that time, managers saw that for this market to grow with sustainability, with this social effect, producing more with less, like Marcos Monte said, well, managers realized that if each one worked alone, the speed would be less, and together the speed would be greater. And figures show that. So we have a history of almost 50 years, and the way we mature is seen is reflected in our index, which is almost 20 years old and has gone through different types of progress, technical progress, and also has evolved in terms of market recognition acknowledgement. In 2010, oh, Giovanni is going to be here with us. Yes, he's our next guest. So I'm going to allow him to explain that better. But we also have CPEA. So ASBIA generates the index, but along with another company, CPEA, and the power of this index, the consistency, the robustness of this index is such that it is used as a reference in the market. People talk about consensus. Well, not only of cattle breeding, but everything starts with genetics. So, and people always ask us, so Has the index been published yet? How was it? Because as a farmer, I want to know how the market is doing. I want to feel the market. I want to understand what is going on. And two important milestones in the history of the index were the index has become the market reference not only for ASBIA but for um, not in for insemination companies. But the ministry also agrees with that. Marcos Montes mentioned here that they consider it as a reference, and we have several breed associations. Our members know the importance of genetic breeding, and they are along with us in our vision of improving the market as a whole. And we are achieving these results. And along with other companies in the sector, Juliano from DSM Tortuga will speak here about how they see it, how it influences the beef and dairy chain in Brazil. CPEA, along with ASBIA and the associate companies, not just another rate, another index, another for to be used in sales, imports, exports. Now, we have a lot beyond that. But I'm going to stop here and let's listen to our guests. So, Luis Adriano, drawing from that, we'll invite our friend Giovanni Pena, who is the father of the index at CPE. He's the one who receives all the data and looks into all the details, comma after comma, and he is going to join us online. So, Giovanni, well, he sent me a slide with eight, right, Giovanni? Eight topics. And I told him, no, we need to be brief. So he converted it into four or five, right? Well, Giovanni, I know there's a lot to say, and it's all good news. Welcome here, Giovanni. Okay, yeah, we can hear you now. Cristiano, yes, you caught me in this one. You gave me a good challenge, which is to summarize the work that we do in 45 days whenever we close the index in 4 or 5 slides. It's difficult. And I tend to say that my history at CEPEA is mixed up with the index history. Since I joined CEPEA in 2017, I've been monitoring the index progress, and we started in 2016 with this first report. Then in 2017, we started publishing semestral data, semester, 6-month reports. And as of 2018, we began to have quarterly publications, which we are still doing. As of 2021, for member companies, besides publishing data with final price, etc. We are adding information from all other chains. We're talking about nitrogen cylinders, sales prices, leasing prices, and we also include information on services provided to farmers, which also play an important role when we think about expansion of genetics in Brazil. Cristiano, are you going to be able to project that summary? Okay, yeah, we see it now. So I believe that our participants also agree with me that we cannot hear you very well. I think your lapel mic is off. Maybe you have to use Leo's microphone. Anyways, the ASBIA index is based on 5 pillars, really, of 5 data pillars. So I'm going to describe them to you. We assure data security and data protection. We protect confidential data from our associate members, from our member companies. Everything starts with parameterization of information. Want it or not, we have some multinationals together with very small holders. very small farmers as members. So it is a great challenge for us to standardize all this information in a concise and representative data bank. How do we manage to do that? Well, we work with metadata. We are able to parameterize information, parameterize information, and we have some simpler worksheets that are going to be filled up by the smallholders, by small farmers. So we get their data in an easier way. We have information since 2017 in our data bank. Um, we have information from all companies associated to us. So we have this parameterizing of information. And then we have a three-step assessment of the gross data. We assess them based on their layout, if people are following the rules we have established as standards, and maybe someone got confused and forgot to record the sales of an Aberdeen Angus and entered a different breed, for instance, or eh, well, we are able to detect that error and correct it. So we do the validation of data. Then we do the consolidation. We assess our data bank to see if it is representing properly the stocks of our companies in our data bank. And as our last step, we assess transactions among associate companies. So we have a great share of the market, so we're able to guarantee that the amount of transactions, that all the transactions among our members are um, that all the transactions are recorded properly. Well, this process usually takes place in a period of 2 weeks. And I'd like to use this opportunity to thank all our members for their support and for being so patient with me because every weekend in the past weeks have been sending them messages questioning data different inconsistencies, but we really want to have a great quality of our gross data. Can you hear me well? Yes. Okay. So after we do all the validation, we do the consolidation of our database, and we prevent third parties to have access to the information of our members, of our associates, and we limit the contact we have with the gross database. So we had parameterizing, then validation, then consolidation, and then we review them because we need and we summarize the data. We format the worksheets. We go through an internal review process within our team, and lastly, we are audited by third parties recommended by our board. So the main companies will audit us with their market know-how, and that will help us to be very accurate in terms of the information. And then we publish the information, and the entire process takes um, 30 to 45 days. And that's when we have, at the end of these 30 or 45 days, we have all the information available to the market. Excellent, Giovanni. And tell me something else. What about the CPEA certificate for ASBIA or CPEA seal? Cristiano and other colleagues, this seal or this certificate is the consolidation of our partnership, ASBIA and CPEA. We were able to have this seal to celebrate the third anniversary of our partnership. So we had the mandate of Sergio Salves, and now we have Marcio. So this is our project or this is where our project is aiming at as business association that values very much research, the academia, and ASBIA represents very well the market with the always referenced by technical information. So the database is very representative. Like I mentioned earlier, more than 90% of the market share is represented by the index. And we have geographic capillarities. Today, based on the SBA index, we are able to have information from almost 74% of the municipalities of cement units sold in 74% of Brazilian municipalities. And we are only considering data from the first semester of 2021. The expectations are that in the second semester we reach more than 80% of the Brazilian municipalities. And lastly, this indicator, I must say that this indicator achieves what we expect as a research center. The It provides information of high quality and resilience to the production chain. So we acknowledge the ASBIA's work and the importance of the ASBIA index for the production chain. Great, Giovanni. Thank you for being such a great partner. During the index preparation, we talk every day on Sundays, from Mondays to Sundays at 9 p.m., eating pizza, etc. And we want more, right? Yes, Giovanni, thank you for your participation. It is great to hear your testimony, Cepea's testimony. And basically what they say here as the summarized testimony is you can trust the index. And considering we're talking about trusting, about market trust, I'd like to invite a friend of ours, an expert in the beef market. He's an animal scientist, has been a trader for more than 20 years, and today has his own company, Match Plan, and he trades with different markets. So I'd like to invite our friend Paulista, if he is online. Paulista, if you are online, you have the floor. Tell us about the current market, internal market, domestic market, international market. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, SB. It's great to see Luis Villalba there. I haven't seen you in years. We look the same, right? Yeah, great. We look great. We look the same. It's good to see you, buddy. So, I've been in the exports market for several years since 2005, and it's been also some years that we are working with the domestic market, the international market, imports, exports, consultancy to beef farmers. We help them to reach different markets, and we are open to any questions from you if you want explanations on how the market is doing. Okay, Paulista, tell us something. What is the percentage of the beef production that is exported, and how much stays here in the domestic market? And what are the characteristics, the features of the domestic and the international market? Well, the international market is very dynamic, but in the sense it is similar to the domestic market in terms of cuts and consumption preferences. Today, we have we, if we consider the cuts that are mostly exported, well, we have to consider that the world is undergoing a crisis, and the price will determine the sales volumes and what consumers will want to buy. And today the preference is for not for the hind cuts anymore. Last year we exported 2.7 millions of tons of a carcass equivalent tons, and this is um, around 30%. So 70% of the beef packers production will be for the domestic market. Paulista, you talked about internal or domestic market characteristics that are similar to the export market requirements, and especially if we consider the role played by China in the last years. Well, we see that the demand now is more focused on younger animals that are finished heavier. So can you talk a few words? Can you say a few words on that? What direction is the beef market following, and why do we need to have great genetics? Why do we need to use all the technology available in terms of animal health, animal genetics, animal nutrition? So tell us about the features of the animal that the market wants today. Oh, China and some Middle East countries, as well as Chile, for instance, and other neighbor countries that import a lot from Brazil, want younger animals. And we also have international agreements that have been signed between our Ministry of Agriculture and the ministries of agricultures of other countries. So let's talk specifically about China now. China, the exports to China amount 51% of all the volume exported. It goes to China. Then we have Hong Kong, which is basically China. Then we have Chile, we have the United States exporting, importing a lot from Brazil. And basically, the animal they want is a younger animal, not older than 30 months. And in order to achieve that, we need state of the art genetics. We need bulls that will yield this accelerated weight gain with a good carcass conformation, a certain amount of fat. So these markets want that, and that's what we convey to our farmers, that the market wants that. Their dams will have to, when they look at their dams, they have to think about that, about genetics, about nutrition. So this is the basics that we need if we want to produce or to raise younger or to slaughter younger animals. Great, thank you. So expectations are very good, right? Yes, the expectations are good. Well, provided that our economy moves forward, because I mean, 70% of what we produce stays in Brazil, or in the domestic market accounts for 70% of our production, buys are 75% of our production. And the purchasing power of families is very important in that sense, because if it goes up, then families will want to buy beef. And the world is focusing its eyes on Brazil as one of the major food producing countries in the world. So the eyes of US, China are on us. Uh, they want to know what we are doing in terms of some food commodities, and we have to understand that Brazil is a major player today. Thank you, Paulista, very much. Excellent explanations. It's always a great pleasure to have you with us in in these events. And it's great to talk about markets, things that you know so deeply. Before we close with you, I have well, Liz Adriano would like to talk to you. Yeah, I was listening to you, and I remember our conversations many, many years ago. And we talked about the cattle cycles, but we used to focus only on the domestic market. And today we see that Brazil is very strongly in the domestic market and in the exports market and the international market. So the scenario is very positive when we look at indexes, technologies, and different scenarios. Well, the technology is here to allow us to have a better yield, not to give the US, China, Chile what they want, and to give our domestic market what they want, what it wants. So it's great to see you. It's great to listen to you. Cheers. Yeah, I agree with you. We are going through this very positive wave of good quality beef, gourmet beef cuts. And this is very positive because the more we advertise our beef positively, even if it reaches only some market niches, well, this niche will send out the message, eat red meat, eat beef. It's a noble protein. It's essential for consumers, and it's also essential for Brazil, for our cattle production operations. And Brazil has to understand that, especially in more remote places. Sometimes things are not so clear, especially considering the moment we are going through in Brazil. And we have to fight arguments that we hear that cattle leads to deforestation, that is destroying the environment. We have to fight those arguments. Genetics is going to help a lot because it it is a sustainable approach. We will be able to produce more with less resources. So genetics is fantastic. And like I said earlier, well, I hope to see you next time in Uberaba. So keep that in mind. There are market niches for the hind quarter, and considering the crisis of today, the demand is greater for four quarter cuts. Okay, we'll see you next time. Great to see you guys. To say a few words on the dairy market, I'm going to invite Marcelo Pereira, CEO and founder of AgriPoint. I I've never had the chance of meeting you in person, Marcelo, but thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I know that you're very busy, so thank you once again. This is the beginning of a long-lasting partnership. Yes, undoubtedly. Good afternoon, Chris. It is a great pleasure to be here with you. Good afternoon, Liz Adriano, Márcia. It's great to be here talking to ASBIA on the dairy market, a market that is going up and down, up and down. Last year we had a peak of prices because of several factors, but especially because of the emergency grant that was given to Brazilian consumers that had seen their purchasing power go down, and they had this grant and were able to start buying again. However, this process brought with it an increase of prices, especially those that are linked to the dollar. So prices to the consumer went up. We had some incentives to the production because even with higher costs, margins were very good in the second semester. of last year, and 2021 started a bit differently. We had a two-digit inflation for dairies. The emergency grant for families was reduced. The economy didn't recover well. And on the other hand, we had a slow opening of the economy, the pandemic, little by little, started to be more under control. So it's been a difficult year. Consumers see very high prices. The industry has low margins. The raw material, milk, is expensive. So everything is high. So it's a difficult year for everyone. Well, at least until now. So that's a summary of the dairy market, and I'm available for questions. Yeah, thank you for your participation, Marcel. We haven't seen each other in person, but in virtual events, startups, garage techs, we have seen each other, right? And considering this challenging scenario that you showed us, what we see is that our considering the current scenario, our customers see the need for intensification, for getting the most out of technology. So even in this scenario, we see milk indexes going up. Do you agree with us that even in this scenario, the use of technology is even more important? Yes, absolutely. In fact, we always have to distinguish rumors or things that are going in the moment and the trends. So we're going through a great technology transformation now. The agribusiness needs to make the most out of the assets, land, and we have to think about all the different production layers. We have the tip of the iceberg, which are uh, large farmers practicing prices that are above the average prices, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. But if we think about 500 kilograms of milk farm as well. They amount to only 2% of the beef dairy farmers, but they produce 15% of all the milk produced in Brazil. Genetics is essential for that. We help, we assist our farmers to better use genetics. Nutrition is very important. Compost bonds, well, the first paper written in the media here in Brazil was in 2011 by at Milk Point. And today it's the wave. And so this activity, dairy production, milk production, is going through a transformation that encompasses both small and large dairy farmers. Yes, and we see that in figures, not only in Brazil, but also in other places. By using sacked cement, it's possible to improve the genetic speed by selecting the best females in the herd. So technology is here to stay in your perspectives, right? Absolutely. It is here to stay. Dairy farmers will be demanded. So we have also to think about training and qualifying our producers. And in terms of genetics, what are the different strategies that are possible today? I'm not an expert in genetics, but well, you are the ones. But if farmers do not have this qualification, if they don't have the right support, they are not make the most of what technology could allow them. And this is good for all areas. Uh, Herd management, softwares, 2.0, cattle raising, and well, there is an activity that, if practiced with efficiency, may lead to production of 30,000 liters of milk per hectare, and that would mean 60,000 reais per hectare. Very few activities in the agribusiness allow for this type of result, but of course, the margin is not the same as the export commodities. But if we consider the volume it circulates, the profitability may be very interesting, provided that technology is well used. And that's what we see happening and will keep happening. It's a pleasure to have you here, Marcelo. Thank you. And if in the beef production we have 25% of the herd inseminated or bred to AI, we have this is still one it's three times more than US and Australia that inseminate only 7-8% of their herds. That's for beef, but in dairy, we we inseminate only 14% of our herds. In our neighbor countries, inseminate 80% of their herds. So we have a homework to do here. If we think about the dairy market, we have to bring this genetic to dairy farmers, genetics associated with nutrition, with the facilities, with the dairy plants demands, what kind of milk is demanded from their farmers, from which kind of cows. More we need more efficient cows. Oh, we really need to give all our support to this 4.0 cattle production. Yes, Master, it's great to be with you once again, great friend. And yes, we it's a challenge for all of us. You have your challenge at ASBIA. We have the challenge of communication, dissemination of information. And there are 2 points here. They are very positive. Well, one is the fact that if we only inseminate 14-15% of our dairy herd, it means that the growth potential is huge. And the other point is that the trend or the market power will take us to this scenario of inseminating more. And this is great because if you are in an activity where you have to row against the current, it's much more difficult. But we see this wave of technology going on, of course, to change the diversity that we see in the dairy scenario is not well something that doesn't happen from day to night, but it's very possible, and the market forces will take us there. And you talked about the proximity to dairy plants. Yes, we need to be closer to what consumers want, what the dairy plants demand from us. And dairy plants are essential in this process. And we also have to include aspects related to human health, to animal health, and if we want to, and also milk solids, if we want to export more milk, we have to focus on that. We have to look at the macro scenario and move away from this up and down, ups and downs, which amount to 80% of our conversations. It shouldn't be like that, but in general, the scenario is very positive. Marcelo, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you once again. Your contributions have been great, very important to our agenda. And considering that we are talking about productivity, about sustainability based on good planning, I'm going to invite our friend Juliana Sabella, Marketing Director of DSM Tortuga, who is going to talk about how companies that are not directly related to the to ASBIA in the sense that they are not cement producers, how they see the index and how they incorporate the index in their strategic planning. So, Juliano, you have the floor once again. Thank you, Marcelo. Juliano, do you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, Cristiano, Luiz Adriano, Márcio. Good afternoon to all our audience. And I would like to start by congratulating Asbia on the excellent work you develop with the index. In Brazil, you have to cope with lack of data, lack of information. We don't have accurate numbers as to the size of our herd, and it makes very difficult for companies to put together good strategies to plan their growth, where to go, where to grow. And when we see such a fantastic work as the index with so many details, so much information, with great capillarity, reaching 75% of our municipalities. Well, this is very helpful for the strategic planning of whatever company you talk about. And it's a very serious work. You are you invited CPEA to give you the scientific basis. So we see how serious things are. We see the importance of this material, and how helpful it is in our for our daily work. So congratulations to ASBIA and to all member companies. Congratulations on your work. Congratulations on your contributions to the national cattle raising to the cattle raising production in Brazil. Marcelo talked about the top 100, which is a survey carried out by Milk Points. Last week, we had the event that awarded these top 100 dairy farmers. So these initiatives from associations, from institutions, from companies are essential if we want to show the figures and the power of our agricultural and livestock production. So tell me something. When you get the index, what is the first thing you do? How do you use it in your annual strategic planning? And what does it mean to you to have quarterly a reassessment of your budget based on on the publication of the index? You as a leader company, as a leader in the market, how do you see that? Considering your capillarity, the way your sales team is distributed all over Brazil. Well, it's very important to have this type of information because we are able to see where the market is going to, where the investments in technology are higher, because things walk together. In the case of nutrition and genetics, well, both have to walk together. We depend on each other. Genetics, or rather, first, to have good reproduction rates or fertility rates, we need well-nourished animals. And then to have genetic expression, we have animals that are on a good diet, have the nutritional requirements met. So when we see the numbers, the figures, we understand where we have to invest more, not only in terms of training our team, having our team ready to serve this market, who is investing more and more in genetics, and therefore will demand more in terms of nutrition, and will demand more information, and will demand more supplies. And another important point is that, well, in the marketing department, we organize many events, well, less now with the pandemic, but we used to carry out many events, disseminate information, disseminating our figures, etc. In 2019, we had we carried out 1,200 different activities for farmers, for producers, rural producers. And the figures, the index also helps us to understand where we should carry out our events. We usually in the second semester, we carry out many events in Brazil to discuss, well, especially for um, breeding herds, considering that the breeding season is approached. So the information is great for us to direct our activities to where they are mostly demanded. Well, it's great to hear you here, and it shows us the power or how strong ASBIA is now because we have representatives from different parts of our sector. showing here and confirming here the importance of our figures. And you all deserve a round of applause. Now, Giovanni, when you're talking about data, well, a nutrition-based company is a member of ASBIA, and I was wondering, well, how you could do that, how you assessed the cattle stocking rates all over Brazil, your market share, the demand, and well, tell us more about it. We talked about the history of ASBIA, trends for the future, and I'm sure there are farmers watching us now, enjoying this interaction, and I'm sure that there are many companies watching today the publication of the SBA index. So if you could tell them how the SBA index influence interferes with your decision making process and why you decided to be an associate, to be a member of SBA. Well, the the pleasure is mine. It's great to see you again, and hopefully we'll see each other in person soon. But first, the idea to be a member of SBA is because of the great work you carried out, SBA carries out. Like I mentioned, we carry out different activities to disseminate information. And SBA and its member companies, most of them in the genetic sector or insemination sector, also do that. They send information, they convey information to producers. And our market, the livestock market, the agricultural market in Brazil is very fragmented. We have 2.5 million farms in Brazil raising either beef or dairy cattle. So to disseminate information to all these farms is a work that requires um, that we get together, requires a joint work. And associations need to be more and more representatives. And the work that ASBIA develops, the index is great for that. So the benefit of being a member is to be together with other companies that contribute to the development of the agribusiness. Brazilian farmers are essential in this chain. Brazilian farmers are daring, they are innovative, but they also need our support they need us to be with them, assisting with their needs and developing solutions for their problems. And we do believe that together in an association we'll be able to do it much faster. And of course, another great benefit beyond being together with other important companies to have this great database, which is unique, which is the only one we have in the agribusiness. Our market intelligence department swallows up all your figures because our statistics are not very accurate. So we put together all the information we can in order to design a more precise strategic planning because we want to invest time and money in those areas where the return is going to be greater and also where we're going to contribute more to the livestock production in Brazil. Great remarks. The only thing is that you didn't finish your company with subscribe, click and like it. Well, what Luis said and Juliano confirmed here is very important. I mean, it was great that you invited him because it is good to be relevant to the market, to be useful for the market. We are relevant for the market, for the artificial insemination and sector, but also for insemination sector. We are relevant for Embrapa, for other academic institutions, for the hormone industry, producing hormones for fixed time AI, and you're going to be relevant for other sectors also. We have to be relevant for the embryo producing sector. We have to be relevant for other sectors. SBA is the great um, pivot of all that. And we are relevant for the Ministry of Agriculture. When the subject is genetics, the ministry invites ASBIA, and ASBIA is very clear in its intentions of s- giving support to the market. Absolutely. Juliana, I'd like to thank you once again for your participation. And if you stay with us, you're going to have the opportunity to see in to see the latest information that we, in a partnership with the Brazilian cattle, will convey to you now. Updated numbers from the first semester of 2021. Then I'm going to yield the floor to you so that you can invite our board members, our members, and let's celebrate. This is the time that we are eagerly waiting for. Yes, and nothing better than to invite our board directors to talk about our figures. Nelson Zerdov, our oh, uh, president of CIMAX, our director, who is going to talk about the dairy market and dairy market results. Nelson, welcome here. Good afternoon, Luis Adriano, Chris, all of you. Everything is great. Congratulations. I am following the conversation here. Great topics, very interesting remarks. And it's great to see us be as part of this construction, as part of this process in such an important segment of our agribusiness, which is genetic breeding. Congratulations. Thank you, Nelson. Thank you for being here today, giving us your support. Whenever we need him, he is available and always attentive, always giving us his support. Now, so the good part now, dairy figures. How much have we grown? What are the expectations for this market? Nelson. Chris, it is a great satisfaction to listen to Marcelo from Milk Point talk about the growth in the dairy production. And that's what we also are going to say about the SBS market. We see an exponential growth of artificial insemination in Brazil, especially in beef farms, but also in dairy farms today. We had more than 35% growth in the domestic market in terms of artificial insemination, and especially had a very significant growth of sexton. It's a segment that is growing a lot in our main herds and also in the dairy farms. So artificial insemination and sex semen has been growing a lot in the dairy market, in the dairy chain. Excellent. I'm going to ask now our production to project the figures on the dairy market. Sorry, I couldn't hear that. Okay, we can see the figures now. So Nelson, go ahead with the dairy market results. Just one second because I cannot see these slides yet. Okay. So we see this exponential growth of semen sales, especially sex semen. We have 62% of Brazilian municipalities using today dairy bulk semen in their herds. This is something that's a very important piece of information. We moved from 59% to 62%, which represents which means that we have more than 3,400 municipalities using dairy bulk semen. And that's in the first semester right now. So whenever we close the year, it's going to be even greater. Yes, Chris, also because artificial insemination in dairy cows it grows or was more intensive rather after August, because that's when the temperatures change and the AI is more effective in our cows. So we believe that we're going to have a very good growth in this next semester now, third and fourth quarter. And this is going to be seen at the end of the year when we see the growth of dairy semen sales in Brazil. Thank you, Nelson. Now, I believe that you would agree with me. If we stratify the use of AI, we see that states and municipalities that use the most AI are the ones that are the top ones in terms of production, milk yield, productivity, and this is great to see because we see that as ASBIA, we are bringing progress to municipalities that choose this tool of AI to bring genetic, for genetic purpose, for genetic improvement. Yeah, well, if we think about the history, well, in 2001, the average milk production in Brazil was 7,000 of the top dairy farms in Brazil was 7,000 kilos of milk. And now it's 23,000 kilos of milk. That's the average milk production in our top dairy farms. And genetic breeding is essential for that. That's how we produce more with less in our machines, our cows today. And sex semen is essential for this expansion of the dairy production in Brazil. Thank you, Nelson. Stay with us. We're going to see more. We're going to listen to other SBA colleagues. I'd like to invite Tiago Carrara from Alta Genetic. Tiago, good afternoon. You will have the great task or responsibility to talk about a market that had a vertiginous growth, 43% of growth. We had 23% of growth in the past years and now 40%. Tiago, you have the floor. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to speak to you today. And it's even greater to be the one to give the best news of today, the growth seen for beef cattle. We're talking about well consolidated growth. We had a 38% growth last year. And in the first semester, we had 41% growth, reaching more than 7.8 million units of semen sold in the first semester. Keep in mind that we have an imbalance of sales between the first and second semester because the breeding season is in the second semester. So we sell more units of semen in the second semester. So the expectations are great for the second half of the year now. Sales are going to go up, and we saw an increase of 38% in imports of beef semen, and also a great increase of growth in the production of beef semen. So the market sees this fantastic growth coming in the second semester. This shows that the market is optimistic in terms of price, and farmers are more aware of the benefits of the technology. And this makes me very happy. We know that intelligent farmers use this moment of having fat cows to get prepared for the next moment. And they know how to use technology to achieve the to achieve great productivity rates. Technology is what allow the farms to go through other moments in the cattle raising cycles. We know that the high moments do not last forever, but farms who invest now are farms that take the right pathway. It's important to state, Master, that the growth is a robust growth because we see it for all breeds, especially for uh, breeds that are more used to provide replacement animals. So we are very enthusiastic with these results. Or your comments were great, but this last one was what I wanted to hear. Paulista and Cristiano and Luis talked about the moment we're going through now, the fat, the finished animals aspects, but we cannot forget the importance of having replacement heifers, replacement females. The Nelore basis for that is essential. And we are now having a great quality of females with good modeling skills, mothering skills. And what can you tell us about that? Well, yes, this is nothing new. We see how the cattle raising cycles take place, and we are in the last years seeing this growth of sales of semen sales in focused on replacement heifers. We know that good dams are the ones that give one calf every year to the farm. So we need to invest in genetic breeding to have a greater milk yield, get greater fertility rates, and cattle farmers and farmers are making this choice. And I have to congratulate SBM members on their work because basically what we're doing is an extension work. We are training our farmers. We are helping the market to understand how to make the best choice for their business. This is very relevant, and it's great to be part of this transformation. It's great to be part of this beef market transformation. Thank you, Tiago. We are getting close to the end of our to the end of our event, but we still have a lot of good information to convey. And Tiago mentioned the growth of the beef Siemens sales and production basically doubled. And I'd like to invite now Jefferson Santos, Director of Bella Vista, a member of ASBIA, a company that provides services to all AI companies in the market, as well as to farmers, to talk about the increased production. Bella Vista grows, and is always with a great demand coming. So, what are your expectations, Jefferson, for this year and for the coming years? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Master Luis Cristiano. Great to be talking to you now. In fact, we see an exponential growth in terms of genetics, production, and not only production, exports, semen imports, semen exports. In terms of national production, well, we see that the numbers, the figures have doubled. So everything export sales, import sales, national production. And this and not only Bella Vista, but all AI starts are getting ready to be able to meet this demand, expanding our facilities. We are uh, expanding our area, more paddocks, more animals, because the demand is coming. And another important factor is training, qualification. We have to have qualified labor to meet the demand. This is very interesting, Luis, because considering that the economy is fighting back and is getting stronger again, well, we have seen this happening, but we have seen some companies from the supply chain going bankrupt, but we have seen some growing a lot, and the facilities are growing, are being expanded, labor is being trained, is being qualified, more animals are being bought. This is essential in our artificial insemination chain. Jason, maybe we could look at some more data. I believe that some slides are going to be projected now. But anyways, it's In other countries, we saw some ruptures in the supply chain, but in terms of AI, we're able to keep sailing. And if we talk about figures, well, production, if we think about national production, we went over the 1 million barrier. Yeah, our national cement production was of 1,100,000 units. And this is basically 10% of all the cement units sold in Brazil. Very significant number. If we compare it to the second semester of last year, we went to 10% growth. So in fact, it's a very significant growth. We are losing users. Okay, I'm back. So, Jason, thank you very much, and stay with us. We are now going to invite Genex's director, Sergio Saud, who is a former president of ASBIA, is a member of the board. Sergio is going to talk about nitrogen cylinders and nitrogen sales and the growing number of bred females. And he's going to give us a lot of interesting information. Sergio, good afternoon. So, Sergio is going to join us very soon. But AI studs and farmers are very much focused on having more balls available and having a good semen stock because the mating season, the breeding season is coming up, and the semen sales are going to go up, and we have to be able to meet to meet the market's demand. Yes, we have gone through some different moments in terms of the beef market. We know that we have ups and downs in our activities sometimes. The well, if we look at margins, they have been great, especially for cow-calf operations. And I think that now we're going through the fourth or fifth wave, or or like Marcelo said, point, the 4.0 um, cattle production operations. But cow-calf operations has always been marginal in terms of having lower margins, of having the cheaper land, natural service, bowl, bowls and not semen. But cow-calf operations are growing in all senses. Fixed time AI has allowed us to have this boom, and now we're going through a phase of maturity. Farmers understand and are more aware of the importance of a good genetic basis. I have some very important farmers and farmer groups in Brazil that um, are now focusing on that. And you talked about the our rates when compared to other producing countries. Our rates are much higher, much better now, and we see the results when we look at our production of our figures. So the cycle is now a bit longer. We have less animals being slaughtered. We had a reduction of 13% of animals being slaughtered. The calf production is being more um, is expanding. So this is something that is new, but is here to stay. Yes, when we read the index, this capillarity. Well, last year we had more than 4,200 municipalities, 74% of percent of municipalities. Well, we believe that in the end of the year, we're going to have reached 80% of the Brazilian municipalities. And this shows how much our farmers willing to invest, how much they have, how much they are aware of the fact that AI, good nutritional management, genetic breeding, how these pillars are essential for them to keep their business going well. Yes, if we look at the states of Mato Grosso do Sul and Rondônia, 100% of their municipalities use artificial insemination. Yes, and look at how the beef operations have progressed in these two states. There's something that is very interesting to mention here. The age of the bulls, well, we have more young bulls being demanded now. Younger bulls produce less than the more mature bulls, but people are getting prepared for that. And you mentioned something that is very important. There are some players joining the market, and or farmers want to become animal farmers. And animal farmers are now having, because and they want to bring the best genetics with that. And cattle farmers, they want to learn more about um, growing pastures and plants and integrating with tree production and crop production. So we see all this awareness. And now he's back with us, and he's going to to say a few words about the nitrogen sales, nitrogen cylinder market. Hello, Michelle, President Nelly, Luis Adriano. And well, there are lots of things going on. I was attending another event, so things are so things are happening so quick. But I believe it is because of how our market is doing genetics with a great power, lots of events, people being trained, things going on. This is the result of the good work of multiplying genetics to our of all this genetic breeding work. We're now talking about nitrogen tanks market. Nelson already said a few words on that. Gerson and the other participants also mentioned that the market is growing a lot, and cement tank sales have gone through 50% growth in the past year, especially up to 20-liter cement tanks. And we had a growth of 20% in the sales of heavier cement tanks, 47-liter cement tanks. Basically, we have three things that will lead to increased sales of cement tanks. First, well, if it breaks, you need to buy another one, but uh, it doesn't impact a lot. Second factor that will lead to cement tank growth, sales growth. Well, if the farmer wants to expand its activities, if the farm grows, then more cement tanks are going to be needed. And that's the second sector. And lately, we have seen a greater demand for cement tanks because of exports. And the fourth factor is undoubtedly the fact that we have new users. When we see a great growth in cement tank sales, it means that we have new players in the market, new farmers adopting artificial insemination, buying their first cement tank. And this shows the growth of the market, more users. So, and this happens because as a result of the AI studies that do great work of rural extension, bringing knowledge, training, and qualifying people, farmers. Senar also carries out a great work training people, but the AI studies are the great disseminators of the artificial insemination. And AI, if you think about it, is so cheap. It's such a low investment, and it will bring such great results in the long term. Excellent, Sergio. We have been we were discussing here exactly what you mentioned now, the importance of this growth and why such a great growth. And it is because beef and dairy farmers are more and more aware of the importance of AI. The fourth factor that you mentioned to explain the growth in cement tank sales is the fact that new users are adopting AI, which is great. Now I'm going to yield the floor to Nery Luiz Adriano. We're getting to the end of our event, an hour and a half of a great conversation. It went so fast. Yeah, when the topic is good, it goes fast. It's easy to talk about what we like. So thank you once again, Sasha, and I give the floor back to you to close this event. Yeah, it's surprising me how fast it's gone. I mean, time flies by. And well, it's been a great conversation, a very dynamic chat. Congratulations on the organization of this event. Congratulations to being to also to ABCZ and to Brazilian cattle. And it's like I tend to say, the new technologies are not just fashionable or not an effect of the dairy cattle cycle or the beef cattle cycle. No, the trend shows that the growth is like exponential and the curve is going up. Uh, it's been great. Besides seeing good friends again, discussing things that I like, it's productive and it's fulfilling. It's great. Thank you once again. Yeah, I say the same. I make his words my words. It's great to see you all again. It's been very important. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that we're able to convey relevant information, good information. We're going to repeat it. We're going to have more events. And I once again will thank all our participants who shared their knowledge and conveyed such great information showing how well dairy and beef operations are doing in Brazil. It's great. Congratulations, Chris. I'll give you the floor to close the event. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you, Luis. Once again, thank you to all our participants, our special guests that contribute to our discussions. More and more, our intention is to transform, to turn ASBIA into a center of information on AI, on the market, on other technologies available, on genetic breeding, and we want to be recognized as an association that is focused not only on AI, but on genetic breeding, on embryo production. We have some novelties for the future and focusing on the agribusiness. So stay with us. Chris, I just got a message here asking if they can access the index and also how I can be a member. So they're sending me here messages. Well, contact us. The contact information is on our website. The index is being uploaded right now. And on our website, you will also have access to our WhatsApp. Nilsi is in the back office helping us, answering messages, and showing me that my time is over. So thank you all once again. Have an excellent Expo Genetica. Contact us. We are at your service. To provide information and to be a great communication center is just beginning. Do you know that? Well, get to know then. Contact us at ASBIA. Have a great day. Bye bye.